One of the most important things we need to know about where we are going as a community is where we came from. Here in Billings, there is quite a rich history that often goes overlooked. Today I would like to provide you with the information of our beginnings and with the applications that it has on our town. We will go over what brought settlers to our area, who played integral roles in founding and growth, and what we can do with that information. Billings was not born from industry. Before any Europeans came this far west, Native American tribes such as the Crow, the Sioux, and the Cheyenne hunted the area. Lewis and Clark came through Billings in 1806 while on their expedition, which ran through many different areas of Montana, and began the American desire to settle out west, also known as Manifest Destiny. Trappers and traders came after land was discovered, eventually creating small groups of settlers which could be found all over the state. Industry began to drive the creation of Billings in multiple forms. First, the small town of Colson was created. It was just on the north side of the Yellowstone River, just south of where modern-day downtown Billings is. The Yellowstone Genealogy Forum explains that sawmills were actually established in the area, and the river provided a good trading route. Therefore, riverboats traversed the Yellowstone River, and Colson became a popular trading post. Second, the railroad came, and Colson fizzled away. The Northern Pacific Railroad came through the area, and people began to settle about halfway between the Twin Cities of Minnesota and the Puget Sound of Washington, which is obviously where we are today. Citizens of Colson thought that the railroad would come near their town, but government land grants put it just north of them, ending Colson and forcing citizens to move to newly formed Billings. Billings quickly became a hotspot for Colson settlers and travelers alike, calling for leaders to inspire and handle the growth of the town as a whole. And many different people contributed to the creation of Billings. The first is Frederick Billings himself. Billings was not a Montanan, but he became heavily involved in the Northern Pacific Railroad, and thus the town was named in his honor. Second is Herman Clark. He was the city planner that detailed the creation of Billings in 1882, when the area only had a few buildings. According to the Yellowstone Historic Preservation Board, he planned for the city to have 9 sawmills, a 16-mile irrigation system, and up to 20,000 inhabitants, which is definitely surpassed today. The third is Preston B. Moss. Moss was a prominent businessman in Billings, arguably the most prominent in our city's history. He was the president of the First National Bank, founded the first dial telephone company, and the first newspaper, which was the precursor to what now is the Billings Gazette. And he was also one of the creators of the historic Northern Hotel on First Avenue North. His mansion, which used to be the farthest western point of Billings, started a very desirable neighborhood in Billings. It is now open for tours and is seen as one of the finest residences in Montana, full of its own set of history. Despite our growth and development, Billings started out just as barren and untouched as many other areas of Montana. It started as country to be explored and turned into a trading post and an industry center. It started in the Yellowstone River and spread north because of the Northern Pacific Railroad. Just before official creation, people like Frederick Billings and Herman Clark jolted the city into existence. After it was created, entrepreneurs like Preston B. Moss started the city on the track that it is today. People and events that I have listed aren't even the tip of the iceberg when it comes to the history of Billings. I think that our history can teach us that the changes happening in our city are important, just as these changes were for the early citizens we're talking about. When we can apply history to places that are near and meaningful, like the Moss Mansion, the old train depot downtown, and various other places in downtown Billings. It can be very inspiring as well.